Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome back for more Umineko When They Cry episode 2. So last time we started the first Twilight, right? 7 people were inside the church, the cathedral, right? They were talking with Beatrice. Let's find out who that one person is that's gonna be surviving, right? So yeah, let's continue. We're with Kinzo right now.
朝なのか。
The light entering through a crack in the curtain was faint, but it at least told him that dawn had broken. Kinzo, still in the position he'd been when he woke up, still sitting in a chair and looking up at the ceiling, felt the blood slowly travel throughout his body. Judging by the clock, it was early 6 a.m. on the dot. No matter how tired he was, no matter how deeply he slept, he always woke up at exactly this time as though he had measured it with an hourglass. He didn't think of this as something to boast about, but he told himself that as long as he could still manage that his health couldn't be that bad.
朝を迎えたということは、どうやら最初の生贄は逃れたということらしい。
Okay, he's happy that it's starting.
ルーレットの目が幸運だったのか、我が努力の賜物なのか。区別のつかぬところがなんとももどかしいが、それは言うまい。
Kinzo was struck by a faint desire to see beyond the study door. Why, he wants to see Beatrice now? But yeah, no one really mentioned Beatrice to Kinzo though, right? Like if he knew it, he would just run outside right away, even the day before. After all, he might find a trace of someone's vain struggle to break through the door, a sign that someone had tried to select him as one of their first 6 sacrifices.
人間とは安っぽい生き物だな。人事を尽くして天命を待ちながら幸運を得られた時にはそれが単なる幸運ではなく己の技量によるものだったとうぬぼれたくもなる。
That was why he wanted to check whether there was a wretched mark on the door. The very desire was human, and that was why Kinzo did not check. He often rejected desires that came to him because he was human. By doing that, he could be immersed in a feeling of sufficiency, as though he himself had become a being that surpassed humans. He recognized human desires for what they were and guarded against them. Things that a human would want to do, he resisted. This eccentricity and rebellious nature had surely given him a rare genius, making it possible for him to succeed in his exploits as he revived the Oshinomiya family in a single generation.
さて、ベアトリーチェ、お前が取った6つの駒は何なのか。そして次なる手はどう来るのか。楽しませてもらうぞ。私の守りは完璧だ。前回のような無様はさらさぬぞ。
Okay, we shifted with Who, and the servants work early. They had to open the curtains, prepare breakfast, and complete various other tasks to welcome the guests to a new day. Goda was the most enthusiastic. He survived this time, that's why he was happy. Look at him. He died in the first episode, right? He was one of the 6. During the family conference, he had been told to concentrate his efforts, especially on cooking, and he'd been specially exempted from several tasks that servants normally must do. Goda, who was a show-off, seemed to be feeling particularly superior because of that. He let Genji and the rest prepare the rest of the mansion and worked on making breakfast in the kitchen. Genji split the work with Shannon and Cannon, and they carried out various tasks. Shannon headed to the dining hall and knocked. Last year, the family conference had continued into the early hours of the morning. It wouldn't have been odd if this year's conference had done the same. Considering the possibility that they were still having a discussion inside, she knocked. But there was no response, so she opened the door and said good morning.
Ohayou gozaimasu. Irasshaimasen ka?
The room was cold and the conference seemed to have ended a long time before. There was a tea set on the table from which they'd probably been drinking, arranged in a way that would make it easy to clean up. Cleaning up the tea was a servant's job. If the family members were extra generous and cleaning up themselves, the servants would lose face. So it was truly a pleasant act of kindness for the family to do only this much. As she approached the table to clean it, she noticed something like a memo that had been left near the utensils and cups. Since it was right next to the tea set, Shannon picked it up, naturally thinking it was a memo for the servant doing the cleaning. Written there was not a request, nor was it thanks for preparing the tea. There was just a single word. Shannon looked at it blankly and read it out loud. Okay, let us guess. Could it be gold, golden, or witch? That is my guesses for that word.
礼拝堂
Oh, chapel. Okay. Okay, I guess chapel. The place where they were, right? I said cathedral or church earlier, but yeah, it was huge though. Like, it's huge to be a chapel, right? The area last time? They only call it a chapel, but the thing was huge. Very big area, I mean. A small sound that kept repeating over and over. Normally the sound would have been too trivial to be worth caring about. If only I could stop hearing it soon, I could go back to sleep right away, she thought vaguely. But no matter how much time passed, the sound did not end. It repeated over and over. Shut up. Who is it? Banging on the door this whole time. So who is this? Jessica? As soon as she realized that, she woke up. No, Jessica's with her cousins. Someone was knocking. Then she noticed that it wasn't just a knock, but a voice as well.
Rosa-sama. Rosa-sama.
Okay, it's Rosa. She survived, but why is she here though? Wait, everyone was in the chapel, right? Yeah, how did she go here? I mean, we're not assuming. I mean, it's assuming already that the others died because Rosa was the odd one out, right? It was Kraus Natsuhi, Rudolph Kirie, and Eva and Hideyoshi, and she was the only one who hadn't had a partner, right? And now she's here in her room. She survived. But how?
Ohayou gozaimasu.
待って今行きます
It had been Genji's voice. Looking at the clock, it wasn't even 7 yet. It was clearly too early to wake the guests. Did something happen that was bad enough to cause this? She felt her sleepiness increasingly fade thanks to this premonition of misfortune. Though Genji was a servant, Rosa had known him since her childhood days, so even though she was slightly defenseless in her pajamas, she opened the door and a crack and answered.
Ohayou gozaimasu. 早朝から申し訳ございません。
何かあったの
はい。実は礼拝堂に。
Genji whispered something into Rosa's ear. For a second, it seemed like Rosa couldn't understand what she'd been told. After having it repeated several times, she realized that apparently something strange had happened. Rosa closed her door for a second, changed her clothes quickly, and followed Genji towards the mansion. The chapel requires some explanation. It wasn't in the mansion, but in a grove behind it a short walk a distance away. It had been built at the same time as the mansion. So, though its walls had been repaired many times, making it look new from the outside, it was a very old building. Rosa dashed through the rain along with Genji. Just like the previous night, the rain was falling in earnest. But I look at this though, this thing is huge. It's not a chapel, man. This thing is huge. Eventually the chapel came into sight from beyond a thin grove. Just looking at it from the outside, it seemed a place of dazzling beauty where a pair of young lovers might want to get remarried. However, Kinzo apparently viewed it as a very sacred place. So Rosa and her siblings had been given strict instructions not to approach it unnecessarily. Even though they were all grown up now, approaching the chapel for any reason would still make them feel guilty. And also afraid, as if their father might get angry and hit them in the face. The servants' silhouettes could be seen in front of the chapel's entrance. Goda, Shannon, and Cannon. Which meant that all of the servants on the morning shift had gathered. A short while ago, Genji had spoken to Rosa, telling her what the situation was. However, without laying eyes on it directly, she definitely hadn't been able to understand. It was probably the same for all servants gathered here as well. But yeah, honestly, the gold, right? If you have the gold hidden, it could have been in this place, right? You see how big this chapel is, right? It could have been made to house the gold, right? So the gold might be in this place. Maybe in a hidden room or whatever. This thing is way too big, yeah. Without seeing it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have been able to understand what was going on. On the door at the entrance to the chapel was something very large, drawn with a creepy, stringy paint that made one think of blood. Something like a magic circle.
何よこれいつ書かれたの
The servants looked at each other. Goda was the first to open his mouth.
申し訳ございません。普段はここへは立ち入りませんもので、いつ書かれたのかはわかりません。
But yeah, you know what? What's interesting in this situation right now is Rosa. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. When we had in the first episode, we had Natsuhi and Ava, right? They survived technically. And yeah, you can say Hideyoshi as well. So they were leaders. They were the leader of the Ushinomiya then. But now it's Rosa, right? She's the lowest ranking out of the siblings. She's much more younger, I mean, right? So I'm very curious to see how is she gonna handle all of this, right? The events that's been happening. Yeah, I can't wait to see what she's gonna do, right? Like in episode 1 up until the end, Natsuhi, she was really protecting the family still, right? Up until the end. For Rosa here, who knows what's gonna happen, right? I mean, she has tendencies when she gets like super angry sometimes, right? Especially with Maria. This is gonna be interesting. So let's go. Let's continue.
じゃあ最初に見つけたのは誰？はい、私です。食堂へお茶の道具の片付けに行きましたら、礼拝堂と書かれたメモがあったもので。
Shannon held out the memo with a shaking hand.
誰の字？兄さんや姉さんの字ではないわね。それであなたはここへ来てこれを見つけたのね。はい。ローザ様、これを。何？ハッピーハロウィン。
Okay, let me guess. It says Happy Halloween for Maria. Who else? That's why they were pointing it at her. Kanan pointed a single line of the English written below the creepy magic circle. Until it had been pointed out to her, she thought it was just another part of the magic circle. There, the following words were written in English. Happy Halloween for Maria. See, it's Maria. Happy Halloween for Maria. This creepy magic circle was for Maria. Happy Halloween. Yesterday, only one person had said Happy Halloween to Maria. The key phrase matched. It was the Golden Witch Beatrice.
Maria はあの子、いとこたちと一緒に寝てるはずよね。確認した。
申し訳ございません。マリア様のお名前が書かれていたことには今気づきましたもので、まだ確認しておりません。至急。
何やってんのよ。私はマリアの様子を見てきます。それからクラウス兄さんたちにも知らせて、以後の対応の指示を受けて。
After saying that much, Rosa finally noticed that something was odd. Her own rank in this family conference was the lowest of the four siblings. Why had she been the only one called during an abnormal situation like this when the other siblings hadn't been? Even Maria's name hadn't popped up.
まさか。
はい。旦那様にご連絡申し上げようとしたのですが、お姿が見当たらず。
奥様もお部屋におられません。シーツの様子からすると、昨夜はベッドに戻られていないのかもしれません。
Rosa felt something creepy crawling slowly up her back.
礼拝堂の中は確認した。
いえ、まだです。確認しようとはしたのですが。
実は礼拝堂の鍵は特別でマスターキーに対応しておりません。一本だけある鍵でしか開けられないのですが、その鍵がキーボックスから紛失しているのです。
She didn't want to get closer to the door with the creepy magic circle if she could. Rosa readied herself and approached, then tried pushing and pulling the knob. All she felt was the resistance of the sturdy lock.
入れる窓などがないか探してはみたのですが、もし中を確認するのでしたら窓を破らなければならないかと思います。いかがいたしましょう。
そんな許可私に出せるわけがないわ。お父様の大切な礼拝堂なのよ。そんなことできないわよ。
At that time, the events of the previous day swirled around in the back of Rosa's mind. That's right, when I met that witch in the rose garden, didn't she hand Maria an envelope? Yeah, there is no mistake, she did hand it over. When Maria tried to open it, the witch told her not to do it yet, and then she surely said, "The time to open it will come soon." Rosa was sure. There could be no mistake. The envelope Maria had received was... Okay, we're gonna go there, I guess. She's gonna take the envelope. After dashing to the guest house, Rosa approached the cousin's room while hiding her footsteps. Softly opened the door and peered inside. From the inside, she could hear the healthy snores typical of young people. There were 4 children, and Mario was there, sleeping soundly. After breathing a sigh of relief, she entered the room with quiet footsteps. She was after Maria's handbag, which was resting on the sofa. Maria always liked carrying her treasures around with her. She was probably emulating how her mom always carried her makeup with her. Of course, she was just imitating her mother, so everything on the inside was junk. In Maria's case, it was full of small and creepy occult items, notebooks describing things of that nature, and so on. Rose had never been happy to see her daughter walking around with things like that, which weren't girlish at all. However, trying to force Maria to stop had resulted in a big fight, so she decided to let it be. A western envelope with a crest of the gold eagle. When she took it out of the bag, she realized there was a heavy, vaguely cylindrical object inside. She could tell by its feel and its weight. There was no doubt this was a key. Also, the key was in the envelope that was given. After turning around and checking that Maria was still around, sound asleep, Rosa tore open the envelope and the contents spilled out into her palm. It was a key with an old and intricate design. Rosa gripped that key and dashed out. Butler seemed to have noticed that sound, but after grumbling and turning over in his sleep, he started snoring again.
Genji-san, この鍵、ひょっとして礼拝堂の鍵ということは。
これをどこで。はい、これが礼拝堂の鍵です。
Rosa approached a creepy magic circle once again and put the key in the keyhole. There was a strong resistance. After it resisted for a short while, it stopped resisting with a clunk. Then squeaking with a noise that hurts one's ears, it slowly began to open.
誰かいるの？
Her voice reverberated throughout the massive room. Of course, there was no answer. And even in this rainy, unsettling day, it felt sacred for some reason. Yeah, look at this though. This chapel, it's so elegant inside. And even, what do you call it again? The window? The glass window therein? Yeah, elegantly designed. The servants timidly followed after Rosa.
Rosa-sama, あれを。
Kanon noticed it immediately and pointed. Over there was the altar. In the place that would normally have the pastor preaching of the God's love, there was a table that shouldn't have been there. But I did say this last time though, it's weird, right? Why was there a dining table there instead of the normal table? Is that the normal table on the right side? So they just moved it, right? I guess for this occasion right now. At first, it looked like a dining table, see? There were gorgeous plates and utensils placed there, making it look like a child's birthday party or something. Upon a closer inspection, the surrounding area had been decorated with pumpkins and black and orange ribbons. They were probably Halloween decorations. And there were people seated at the table. 3 people on each side, facing each other, seated in chairs. They could be recognized at a glance. Kraus and his wife, Ava and her husband, and Rudolph and his wife. But if you wanted to be sure, you'd still have to go even closer and check. Because they seemed almost like dolls. Rosa and the rest had opened the door, entered all at once with the sound of many footsteps, and called out, asking if anyone was there. And yet, there had been no reaction. Even if Rosa and the rest assumed they were being ignored, you'd still expect there to be some kind of reaction. And there haven't even been that. So at first, it felt like someone had set down some dolls that greatly resembled those people. By now, it wasn't just Rosa, Shannon and Cannon, and even Goda. They were all fighting frantically with a creepy emotion that grasped their hearts.
兄さん、Aさん。
As she walked towards the altar, she called out again, but there was still no reaction. Yes, by now Rosa was sure of it. She was sure these weren't dolls, but the people themselves.
これは
They grew close enough to see clearly what lay on the table. It still looked like an adorable banquet reminiscent of a child's birthday parties. Plates piled up with sweets, cute pitchers with drinks, all kinds of pumpkin-shaped ornaments. They were all decorated in Halloween style, and while this probably wasn't the time to be thinking it, Maria would surely have been delighted to see all of this. That was the state of the table they sat in front of, apparently asleep. It was an eerie scene, as though a small fun-looking Halloween party had been stopped in time.
兄さんたち、寝てるの？
Yeah, I think that. I mean, if you're in this situation and you see your family members like that, you would be denying as well in the beginning, right? Like, no, they're just probably sleeping, right? When she approached even closer to them, she realized that there were snacks scattered all over the floor. Candies, cookies, sodas, and chocolates, all with heavily fantasy-themed packaging. They were all scattered across a carpet covered with blackberry and cranberry jam. Okay, here we go. Nice, we got some new art here. Rosa and the rest finally realized what the situation was. It was a Halloween party. A banquet for those not of this world. Kraus, Natsuhi, Ava, and Rudolph, Hideyoshi, and Kyrie were seated in chairs, apparently asleep but all dead. How could you tell that they were dead and not simply sleeping? That was because they've been vertically sliced open from their chest to their stomachs. Where is dude, whenever we see this, right? Where is Chiyo? She's not here always. Episode 1, when they found this, Chiyo was not here. Episode 2, when they found this, Chiyo was not here, right? All the time for some reason. The 6 of them had sat down at the Halloween party before having their stomachs split open, killing them. And then the jam covering the floor must be what overflowed from their stomachs once they stuffed themselves completely, right? No. The contents of their stomachs had been scattered all over the floor. And that wasn't it all. Out of their stomachs, it was almost as though they poured out. As though the snacks had overflowed from there. Candies and cookies, sodas, and chocolates had poured out, stained with blood, and had scattered across the floor. What could have happened to cause this? It is almost as though their stomachs were stuffed full to bursting with sweets, and it poured out when their stomachs split open. So it's kind of messed up still though, right? I mean, it's a different kind of, I guess, how they were killed. Is this updated now? Let's see. Oh, it's updated. Welcome Maria, happy Halloween. See, didn't I tell you bellies are full of candy? Everyone has a belly that's filled with sweet dreams. A belly could never be full of disgusting things. That's why we want to be simple and sweet like candy. So this dreamland is for you. Happy Halloween. Yeah, it's kind of messed up because in episode 1, their faces were crushed, right? They were mangled, basically. This episode, Halloween treats were stuck inside their stomachs. My god. When it had been cut open with a knife, out flowed one of their favorite foods, or her favorite foods. But since she hadn't been told what was inside, the deep red ketchup omelette rice poured out like bloody maggots. Pulsing, dripping, slimy, pulpy, squelching. The trauma of her youth was revived. Rosa felt the monster raging inside her stomach as the acid started to rise. Unable to hold back, she threw it up all on the floor. Her empty stomach had nothing but stomach acid. The scene in front of her was no fun Halloween party now. The 3 couples were enshrined right there, their stomachs vertically wrenched open with a gyuba. What is a gyuguba? What is that? So many snacks had been stuffed in there, pulpy and squishy. Blood and guts and sweets were overflowing onto the floor. Blood-stained, sticky, sloppy, pulpy, sweet snacks that made your fingers stick together, a gummy. But stained with entrails, sloppy and pulpy. What was that I stepped on just now that didn't feel like candy or a cookie or soda or a chocolate? I'm scared. What did I step on? I can't even look at the bottom of my foot. What a gruesome Halloween party. From far away, it looked like a truly beautiful, fantastical, and fun. But from up close, it was horrible, disgusting, and yet somehow still beautiful. Rosa's wild thoughts tried as best as they could to escape her throat with a loud voice that was neither a scream nor a roar.
旦那様。
こんなのってひどい
救急車警察
そうよ警察
If a word so tied to reality hadn't come out of Goda's mouth, Rosa and the rest would probably have found themselves unable to escape that nightmarish party even now. But it wasn't because they thought the police might be able to do something. If they didn't keep yelling about the police, it felt as though another seat might be set up at this demon's party and given to them. Their own chest felt like they were expanding unpleasantly from the inside, rumbling and churning, and it was surely because the candy was about to overflow from their stomachs. Rosa, once again tortured by a desire to vomit, threw her stomach acid up on the floor. And then she searched to see if there was any candy in it. Rosa coughed violently again, forcibly spitting out the stomach acid that had been burning in her throat. She realized that by now, her whole body had been covered in a filthy sweat.
源氏さんとシャナンちゃんはお父様に連絡して指示を仰いでちょうだい。郷田さんはカノン君と一緒に行って警察に電話を。あと 南條先生に来てもらっ。
Why even bring Dr. Nanju here? It's a bit too late for medical care. The servants accepted their orders and dashed outside. After watching them leave, Rosa once again stared at her siblings, with whom she'd spent good times and bad with their partners. Though there could be nothing more tragic than the scene, for some reason she was tempted to describe this fantastical death as beautiful. Okay, that was very, very intense, right? But yeah, where's Chiyo? She's always missing, right?
いねえな。どこに行っちまったんだろうな。
Yeah, Chiyo, always gone. Whenever stuff like this happened, she's always gone. Where is she again?
使用人室も厨房も空っぽだぜ。一体どうしちまったってんだ。
弱ったね。バトラ君、本当にローザおばさんだったのかい？
まあ、俺も寝ぼけてたから自信はねえんだが。明け方にローザおばさんが入ってきて、マリアの手提げカバンを漁ってるような気がしたんだよ。俺はてっきり、マリアの手提げに、歯磨きのチューブでも入ってるんじゃないかなんて思って寝ぼけてて。
なんで歯磨きのチューブがマリアの手提げに入ってるんだよ。寝ぼけて夢でも見たに決まってんぜ。
I said better. Butler vaguely remembered Rosa entering the cousin's room. Also, when Maria woke up before the rest of them, she started rampaging around, saying that someone had opened the envelope she'd been keeping safe. But yeah, wasn't there 2 envelopes though? Or did I just, wasn't there 2? Like, she gave one to Rosa and one to Maria, right? Or was it only 1? Maybe I'm just, I don't know. Alright, let's continue. Putting 2 and 2 together, they figured that Rosa had probably come and opened the envelope.
黄金の魔女様の封筒か。中に何が入ってたんだろう。
わからないね。でも、あの封筒はおじいさまが新書に使う後宮家の家紋の入ったものだった。親族会議と無関係なものが入っていたとは考えがたいね。
She hadn't let anyone touch it, but yesterday Maria had shown that envelope off to Butler, and the rest a whole lot. So they remembered it very well.
George ジョージの兄貴の言う通りなら、相当重要なものらしいが。しかし、そんな大事なものを、どうして魔女様はマリアに渡したんだろうな。さっぱりだぜ。
Every once in a while, the refreshing morning atmosphere was completely wiped out by the sound of thunder. It was only natural. Since the moment they woken up, they hadn't met anyone else. It felt like only they were left, as if the mansion had become an empty husk.
おーい！誰かいないか？返事してくれよ！
Jessica called out into the hallway, and eventually an answer came back. It came from the entrance hall.
聞こえますとも。
Nanjo-san.
何かありましたか？
南條先生だ。 よかった。この島から僕たち以外が消えてしまったわけではないようだよ。
南條先生、おはようございます。すみませんが、うちの親たちとかどこに行ったか知りませんか？
はて、私も今起きてこちらに来たばかりですからな。わかりかねますが、さて。
It was only natural. Nanjo was a guest just like the rest of them. He'd come just now to pass the time in the parlor until breakfast.
南條先生、ママが通った。ママがマリアのお手紙通ったの。返して返して。
Maria buried her face in Nanjo's plump stomach, sobbing and crying. Plump stomach. Okay. Nanjo could do anything but be bewildered by this ruckus so early in the morning.
誰かかけてくるぜ。ジェシカ、誰か来るぞ。
From down the hall, they could sense people running hurriedly. They saw Goda and Kanon coming towards them. Normally, it would be disgraceful for a servant to run inside the mansion. And yet, Butler and the rest didn't even think to question them now. Maria's sobbing had become so unmanageable, they'd wanted to ask anyone where Rosa was. But the two servants seemed to have bigger things on their minds than Jessica, who was waving at them. Goda flew into the servant room, and then when Kanon noticed that Nanjo was there, he bowed and approached the door at a quick pace before whispering something into his ear.
何ですって？ローザさんが。
はい、ご案内いたしますので、どうか。
わかりました。
こちらへ。
Without saying anything more than that, Kanon finally noticed Jessica and bowed to her. But he wasn't calm. He dashed back down the corridor by which he had come, followed by Nanjo. By looking at how hurried they were, Butler and the rest realized that yes, something bad really had happened. They saw Goda through the door to the servant room, which had been flung open. He was holding the receiver and violently pressing the hook. From that, they realized that he was trying to call a hospital or the police. In any event, he was trying to call someone because a serious emergency had occurred.
行ってみようぜ。
They didn't know what, but something was happening. Butler and the rest chased after Kanon and Nanjo. And then we realized that Kanon had called Dr. Nanjo, but he hadn't called us. So we shouldn't have gone with them. I wonder if Alice regretted her excess. What? Alice? Oh, Alice. Alice in Wonderland. I was like, what Alice? I wonder if Alice regretted excess curiosity when she chased after that rabbit holding a clock. It was like, Alice? What Alice? Like, is there a new character now?
ダメよ、入っちゃダメ、見ちゃダメ、ジェシカちゃん、ダメ。
I mean, all of their parents, man, they're gone.
Tosa! 何があったの？
なんだよこりゃ。 趣味が悪いにも程があるじゃねえかよ。命を奪うならそれで十分事足りただろうがよ。なんだよこりゃ。わざわざ殺した後に椅子に座らせて腹裂いて、菓子をわざわざ中に詰め込んだってのかよ。なんだってなんだって、そんな悪趣味なことをしやがるんだよ。チキショウチキショウ、やってくれやがるぜ。最高だよ最高だよ。
皆さんは外へ出られた方がいい。こんな姿を皆さんに見せたいなどと彼らが思うわけがありません。
Nanjo told the children to go outside, but no one listened.
ローザさん、皆さんに言ってください。
The music is just... the music there is good.
こんなもの見続けてはどこになる。
Rosa regretted her own carelessness. She should have realized that the children would eventually come here. She should have quickly locked up instead of standing around stunned. So the children had come here. They had seen it. Surely at this very moment they were having a sight burned into their eyes that was far more grotesque than the shocking meal Rosa had witnessed in her youth. While she hugged Maria, she seemed to be too shocked to show any emotion at this gruesome scene. Rosa cried for them and their parents. The four groaning and crying voices, their sadness, continued to echo in a place that should have known God's love.
クソ野郎が。
Ooh, we are seeing the other butler and other, I guess, Beatrice.
またかよ、またこんな殺人を。しかも今度もやたらと凝った最高にふざけた殺し方をしやがって。
But technically it's like kind of like a joke now, right? Yeah. Putting candy on them, saying Happy Halloween.
わらわはそんな嘆きより感謝の言葉が聞きたかったぞ。
感謝感謝と言ったがこのクソババア。てめえ耳がいかれてやがるってんなら俺が両の耳を引き裂いてよく聞こえるようにしてやるぜ。なんで俺がこの最高にいかれた殺し方にありがとうございますベアトリーチェ様なんて言わなければならねえんだ。ぶっ殺してやる。
前回のゲームでお前は自分の親の死に顔が見られないと嘆いたな。だから残したぞ。
In the last game, you lamented the fact that you couldn't see your parents' faces after you died, so this time I left them. God damn, look at her face even, right? That face is scary though. She's like, you know that meme, Momo, right? Momo? With the eyes and just a big smiley face.
しっかり残した。よく拝んでおけ。間違いなく父親たちが殺されたことを。
そうかよ、そいつはサービス満点だぜ。気に入った。俺はてめえの息の根を止めたら顔面耕してやろうと誓ってたが、そいつは取り消してやるぜ。てめえの腹渡を引きずり出してやる。
感情に任せて思考を止めるな。すでにわらわのゲームは始まっておるのだぞ。わらわは今回は綺麗に死体を残すことに決めた。なぜだかわかるか？前回のゲームでそなたがわらわの存在を否定するとき、こう考えて否定したであろう。それは顔面が潰され遺体の身元が確認できない。
Yeah, that's kind of true though. You could argue back then that, oh, maybe one of them is fake, right? Maybe it's a different body, and then they put the clothes of the person there, right? Or maybe, yeah, maybe it's just a corpse of another person and then the one doing it was one of the family members, right? You could argue that because, yeah, you couldn't really see the faces. But now, Beatrice killed them with their faces still showing. Damn, Butler's really losing this time. Yeah, he is. I mean, technically he lost as well in episode 1, but what I'm saying is, with their game here, he is losing. Yeah.
だから身代わりの死体を用意してアリバイを作った可能性が否定できない。
Yeah, fake corpses. Exactly that. Fake corpses.
その可能性が排除できない限り、人間犯人説は維持できる。
なんだと？
さあバトラー、南條に検視を任せてよいのか？ミステリーの古典では検視の医者がグルというのが伝統なのだろう。なら南條に検視を任せるな。そなたが自らするがよい。間違いなく6人の死体が当人で、死んだふりなどでなく本当に死んでいることを十分に確認するがいい。お前の父親が母親が腹を裂かれて臓物を引きずり出されて殺されていることを腹に手を入れてその手触りで確認するがいい。
泣かねえ。ちくしょう、ちくしょう。
Big show.
泣かねえぞ俺は。
Butler suddenly yelled. His tears were still dripping down, but as though scolding himself for being a sissy, he slapped his face hard several times with both hands. Dude, your parents technically died in front of you. Not just your parents, your relatives, your aunt and aunties, your uncles. They died. Yeah, it's okay to cry. Even so, the tears still wouldn't stop. However, he felt a hot blaze in both his eyes.
これだけの上等を決めやがった野郎に借りはがっちり返させていただくぜ。なら泣く時じゃねえ。自分のすべきことを考えろ。ああ、ダメだぜ、全然ダメだ。涙を流す暇があったら考えろ。涙腺なんかひるませる時じゃねえ。
Rather than genuine anger, maybe it was more of an evasive anger to blot out his sadness. However, it gave a little courage to George and Jessica, who had been crushed by the sadness.
そうだね。僕たちが泣いても起こってしまった現実は変わらない。
じゃあどうすりゃいいんだ。私は父さんと母さんのために何をすればいいんだよ。
ローザ様、戻りました。
郷田さん、警察はどうでしたか。
The phone lines are broken.
多様の指示はいつ頃来られそうだと言っていましたか。
それが電話が故障のようでして、非常用の無線機も試してはみたのですが、その天候のせいでしょうか、こちらも通じず。
なんですって。じゃあ警察に連絡がつかないということなの。あいつだ。あいつが電話線とかに細工して警察に電話ができないようにしたんだ。
When she heard that the phones had broken down, Jessica immediately decided that it was the work of that mysterious guest. Her eyes were bright red after so much crying, and they began to grow even redder with rage.
もう議論の余地なんかねえぜ。全てが分かってる。そうだと分かる。父さんと母さんを殺したのは誰だ。決まってるぜ、あいつだ。昨日来たとかいう魔女様に決まってる。襟首ひねり上げてやるぜ。チクショーチクショーチクショー。ジェシカちゃん、 待ちなさい。ゴーダさん、カノ君、行って。
はい。お嬢様、お待ちを。
Covering her uncontrollable sadness with anger, Jessica ran outside, torn apart by emotion. Thinking about it hastily, maybe the mystery guest who'd arrived yesterday, Beatrice, was suspicious. However, in that instant, there was absolutely no proof that she was the culprit. At this moment, she's just another guest, no more, no less. So Rosa, making an adult decision, was forced to stop Jessica in her rash rampage. Goda and Kanon picked up on this immediately and chased after her.
誰にも招かれなかった客人、ベアトリーチェが犯人なんだろうか。
ジェシカの気持ちもわかる。そう思い込みたい気持ちは俺にもある。誰でもいいから犯人ってことにして横っ面をぶっ飛ばしてやりたい気持ちがある。だがその前にはっきりと理解する必要がある。ベアトリーチェってのは何者なんだ。俺は顔すら見てねえぜ。
顔ならお屋敷に大きな肖像画で飾られてたよ。あれだけ見てまだ覚えられないのかな。
なんだよマリア、こんな状況で何がおかしいよ。
ベアトリーチェは魔女なんだよ。そして黄金鏡の扉を開くための儀式がいよいよ始まったの。この6人はその生贄なんだよ。さあ始まるよ、魔女の宴が。今宵はハロウィン、魔女たちが今こそ祝い集う。
マリア、その気持ち悪い声で笑うのをやめなさいっていつも言ってるでしょ。
The crisp sound of Rosa slapping Maria's cheek echoed through the high-ceilinged chapel. Ever since it started raining yesterday, ever since the island was swallowed by the typhoon, I felt as though something was wrong. It was bright and sunny when I arrived in Rokkenjima, but since I've gotten up early and was sleepy, I took a nap. When I woke up, it had already been starting, or the rain had started. And ever since that time, suddenly a mysterious visitor calling herself the Golden Witch Beatrice arrived, and it felt like I was sinking bit by bit into a bizarre world. What the heck happened while I was napping? Am I supposed to believe this island was sealed off inside a different world, where common sense doesn't apply? Who is this person called Beatrice? Is it some unknown person trying to involve themselves with the inheritance problem, just like our parents were freaking out about at dinner last night? Or is the culprit this witch from the Legend of the Gold, just like Maria said? Even if we set Jessica's tempers aside, given the circumstances, it's probably safe to say that this visitor person is the most suspicious. But we mustn't make up our minds based on that alone. It's useless. It's useless. It's all useless. I smacked my face with both hands again, cooling off my brain before they overloaded. Even though it might have been a wasted effort.
これはおじい様の封筒。
On a tray piled up with sweets that decorated the table, George Aniki found a western envelope that had the Ushirimiya family crest done on it in gold. And it was opened. Or unopened, I mean. Which means...
俺たち宛てってことじゃねえのか。親父たちが読んだものだったなら開封されてるはずだぜ。
その推理は正解のようだよ。書いてある。残されし者たちへって書いてあるよ。
To those who remain.
それは 犯人が残した手紙なの。中身は。
兄貴、開けようぜ。
After nodding silently, George Aniki broke the seal. As the folded letter came out.
読むよ。
Okay, I'll read it.
六軒島へようこそ。後ろ宮家の皆様方。私は金蔵様にお仕えしております当家顧問錬金術師のベアトリーチェと申します。
That letter really was a joke. This Beatrice, who called herself the family alchemist, had announced that she was collecting the gold she'd lent grandfather along with interest. And that interest was everything a grandfather had created. Since this tragedy was right before her eyes, as this paragraph was being read aloud, it clearly wasn't referring just to the wealth that grandfather had built up. It was literal. Everything that grandfather had created. In other words, all of grandfather's descendants were included in the interest.
ふざけやがって。なんてめちゃくちゃな契約だ。黄金の利子は命だったのかよ。そんなのまるで悪魔の契約じゃねえかよ。それで魔女気取りってわけか。笑わせやがるぜ。
特別条項。
Special
ただ
Klaus.
し隠された契約の黄金を暴いた者が現れた時、ベアトリーチェはこの権利を全て永遠に放棄しなければならない。黄金の隠し場所についてはすでに金蔵様が私の肖像画の下に碑文にて公示されております。つまりこういうことだね。もしこの殺人が利子の回収行為だというなら、それを止める条件としておじい様に与えた隠し黄金を探し出してみろとこう言ってるんだよ。そしてその秘密は例の肖像画の碑文に隠されているとも言ってる。
つまりこいつは魔女様の挑戦状ってわけか。黄金の隠し場所を記した暗号文を解けるものなら解いてみろと。そしてそれができなきゃ利子の回収をこの後も着々と進めていきますと、そう言ってやがるわけか。ぶっ殺してやる。上等だ。
バトラ君、これ
The table was covered with sweets. So even though those things were right out in the open, we just assumed they were sweets too. I mean, come on, you see them a lot, right? You know, those boxes of chocolate shaped like gold ingots? Oh, there's... So they're giving... What do you call this? Or Beatrice is giving them motivation to actually look for it, right? Because yeah, there is one here now. To show them that yes, the gold is real, you just gotta find it. But how though, right? I doubt they can find it in this episode though.
片翼のわしの紋章が刻印されてる。前に母さんが話してたのを聞いた。これはおじい様の黄金伝説の金塊だよ。
Gold ingots weighing a full 10 kilograms, a whole 3 of them, were piled up in the very center of the table. It was where a cake would be placed if it was a birthday party. In other words, this was without a doubt the birthday cake of the party known as the family conference.
これが本当に純度49のインゴットだったなら。
49's purity ingots.
6000万円くらいの価値はある。
60 million yen each. God damn, man.
バカ野郎安すぎる
Way too cheap. I mean, it's way too cheap for people's lives.
俺たちの親が6人も殺されてそこに積まれた黄金がたったの6000万円だと
Yeah.
バカにするんじゃね
You know, look at this, just laughing.
さあ始まったねベアトリーチェ。どうせこの謎は誰にも解けないよ。だから絶対にベアとの勝ち。早く黄金鏡への扉を開いて、そしてマリアを連れてって。
Okay. That was insane. A little bit different. Yes, it's a little bit
お
different.
嬢様どうか気をお静めください。
Okay, let's take a break here. But yeah. God damn, look at this. Where are you, Miss? Where are you, Miss Chio? You're always disappearing. Imagine if in the ending, right? Chio is revealed to be Beatrice, but older. And she's always gone. Episode 1 is the same, and then she appeared later on, right? And now episode 2 again, when they check the body, what do you call it? Not the body, but yeah, the body's technically in the chapel. She was not there as well. Every servant was accounted for. Genji, Shannon, Kennen, even Goda here. But yeah, her, yeah, she's a part-timer, but she's still in the mansion though, right? She's still here. So, I need to know more about her backstory, honestly, Chio. We need to find more about her. But yeah, Beatrice is winning. Giving them as well gold bars, 3 of them, to give them motivation to actually look for it. But I wonder though, right? I can't wait to see an episode, I guess, when they actually like solve it. I doubt they're gonna solve it in this episode. It's impossible. Right? I doubt it. But yeah, I wish that we would see that. But I wonder how it would how they would do it though, right? We'll see. But I highly doubt it in this episode. It's just episode 2. And I doubt that they would find the gold easily in this episode. We got 6 more episodes, 6 more chapters basically. Yeah, 2 more in question arcs, 4 more in answer arcs. If the gold is gonna be found, it's probably gonna be in the answer arcs, right? But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. So yeah, we are gonna continue this and do more of Umineko When They Cry episode 2 in the next one. So I'll just see you then, guys. Bye bye.